Tuesday, Boeing's outgoing president and CEO David Calhoun answered questions on Capitol Hill about the aerospace company's commitment to safety. The hearing follows 3 whistleblower allegations claiming Boeing did not address known issues and retaliated against the employees who raised them.
I understand the gravity of Boeing's role in upholding the integrity of aerospace safety in our industry. Our culture is far from perfect, but we are taking action and we are making progress. And we know, as America's premier aerospace manufacturer, this is what you and the flying public have every right to expect from us.
For more on this, we are joined by Sharon Terlep. She's an aerospace reporter for the Wall Street Journal. Thank you so much for joining us, Sharon. How did Boeing go from being the gold standard in the aviation industry to being in this condition they are in now, where things are so problematic?
Sure. I mean, that's a big question with a lot of answers. And if you talk to people at Boeing, talk to people who watch Boeing, it's everything from, a shift in culture. Is it shareholder focused? Is it, a decision to outsource a lot of the business? And if you talk to Boeing's executives today, they'll say there's been a lot of challenges around COVID. There's labor issues, supplier issues. So there's a lot, and all of these things are elements of what's happening, inside and outside factors.
And there are these 3 whistleblowers who've come forward alleging that Boeing has failed to address these concerns that they raised. What did we learn from the new allegations? And does that tell us something about tiny little spots inside the country, inside the company, or does it go to this larger cultural question about Boeing that might be part of that enormous first question I asked you?
Sure. I mean, each of the whistleblowers, they have very different issues. Some are engineering arguments and some are allegations of actually covering up problems. But one thing that seems to be consistent is the idea that when they said, hey, there's something wrong here, they were not received well, they feared retaliation, and that culture of not being able to speak up and bring problems forward is something that has been a theme through all of this.
The CEO, Dave Calhoun, acknowledged on Tuesday that, in fact, employees had been, or that these whistleblowers had been retaliated against. That seemed kind of extraordinary, that he sort of admitted that. And what's the fix for that?
Yeah, he talked about, he did acknowledge that there have been people who have been reprimanded for retaliating against whistleblowers. And he talked about setting the tone at management that you need to come forward. But I don't know, I mean, it certainly wasn't answered and probably can't be answered right now if that change has rippled through the entire company or how long that would take.
Is it possible to know, Sharon, what stepping aside from this hearing, kind of what the situation is like at Boeing? I mean, are they still in the mode of trying to find all the problems so they can get to solving them? Or have they put systems in place that might begin to solve some of these things that have been identified?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of both. I mean, they literally have entire lines of airplanes that are being fixed. So as opposed to new production, there's physical repairs going on, and then there's all the work going on to repair the culture and put in place new practices. At the same time, they are building planes. There's huge demand for airplanes, and they are trying to get themselves ready to develop the next generation plane. So I think they're trying to both conduct business while fixing the problems that have not yet been resolved.
The old cliche, trying to fix the airplane while flying it. Sharon Terlep with the Wall Street Journal. Thank you so much, Sharon.
Thank you.